Because in another reality, Rome didn't just survive, it evolved. It industrialized, it unified its people, and then it reached for the heavens, building an empire not just of provinces, but of entire planets, an empire without end. Okay, so how on earth is that even possible? How does a civilization that was on the absolute brink of total collapse manage to turn things around and become a galactic superpower? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? And to find the answer, we have to go back, way back, to the moment it all could have ended. To really understand how Rome made it to the stars, we've got to rewind the clock, back to the 3rd century. This was a time when, in our history, the Western Roman Empire was well and truly coming apart at the seams. You probably know this story, and it's a tragic one. The empire was completely paralyzed by constant civil wars. You had generals fighting each other for the throne all the time. The government itself was bloated and corrupt. The economy was in an absolute freefall. And all the while, you had immense pressure from the outside, with tribes like the Goths and Vandals pushing hard against the borders. This was the fire that burned our Roman Empire to the ground. But this other Rome, this eternal Rome, it found a way to put out the flames. So this is the great fork in the road. This eternal Rome didn't survive because of sheer luck. Nope, it survived because it made 3 critical choices. 3 huge shifts that completely changed its destiny forever. First things first, they fixed the engine of the empire, the government itself. So instead of a bureaucracy just spiraling into corruption, a whole series of reforms created a streamlined, merit-based system. It was about competence, not who you knew, and a fairer, more efficient tax system actually filled the state's coffers, which starved out the internal rot and gave the empire the money it so desperately needed to actually function. Second, and you gotta understand, this one is a huge deal. Rome completely changed its mind about technology. You see, historically, Roman elites often saw new industrial inventions as a threat to their slave-based economy. I mean, there are stories about emperors actually executing inventors for coming up with labor-saving devices. But this Rome embraced progress. It created a culture of innovation that kickstarted an industrial and then eventually a technological revolution. And the third pillar of their survival? It was religious harmony. Instead of one religion totally dominating and persecuting all the others, this Rome found a really clever balance. Christianity became a powerful moral compass for society, but it didn't become the absolute ruling institution. And at the same time, the old pagan traditions weren't just wiped out, they evolved. Gods like Jupiter and Mars were reinterpreted as philosophical ideals, as archetypes. This pluralism was absolutely key. It prevented centuries of bloody internal conflict. Okay, so you have a stable government, advancing technology, and a unified culture. What happens when you let that cook for a few centuries? Well, you get a civilization on a scale that is just staggering to even think about. Get this. In this alternate timeline, the Roman Imperium is home to over 2.1 billion citizens. It's a truly global civilization, a massive melting pot of cultures, all united under the Roman eagle. To put that in perspective, that's nearly a third of our Earth's total population today. And how do you possibly power a world like that? Simple. You harness the power of a star. Almost half of the entire empire's energy comes from clean, incredibly powerful nuclear fusion. This mastery of the atom is what fuels their sprawling cities and their absolutely boundless ambitions. Now, to defend a territory this vast, you need more than just legions. You need logic. A lot of logic. This number, 19,000 trillion, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around, but it represents the simulated neurons inside a strategic AI called Gabriel. This AI advises the military high command, running countless simulations to ensure the security of the Imperium. And you just knew Rome's ambition wasn't going to stop at the edge of the atmosphere. As early as the year 1000 AD, they were launching massive generation ships to nearby stars. By 1250, they'd already established their first interstellar colonies, which eventually led to new independent Roman-descended states light years away from Earth. So we've got these incredible statistics, these mind-bending technologies. But what is it actually like to live in this world? What does it feel like to be a citizen of an eternal interstellar Roman Empire? Well, in some ways it might feel surprisingly familiar. This description paints a picture of daily life that feels both ancient and completely timeless, doesn't it? A vibrant, chaotic, totally human experience, full of entertainment and noise, a scene that could be from 100 AD or 2100 AD. But in many other ways, life is radically different. Being a citizen comes with a universal social contract and a real voice in a direct democracy. But the real game changer is the quality of life. Just imagine a world where cancer is cured with nanite therapy, where if an organ fails, it's just replaced with a cloned one. Education and healthcare are treated as fundamental rights, and peace is kept by the ever-present vigiles, the City Watch. It is, in so many ways, a technological utopia. So what holds all of this together across entire planets and vastly different cultures? It's language. In this timeline, Latin never died. Instead, it thrives in a state that linguists call stable diglossia. Now, think of it like this. You have a high language, classical Latin, that's used for all the official stuff, law, science, government. But on the street, in your home, you speak a low language, one of many evolved Roman dialects. This linguistic duality is the glue that holds the galaxy together. A technological utopia, a stable society, an empire that has literally conquered the stars. It all sounds, well, perfect. But this whole idea of an imperium sine fine, an empire without end, it raises a very deep and frankly troubling question. And here's the wild part. The original Romans, the historical ones, they might have found this whole concept terrifying. To them, imperium, power, authority, had to have limits. An empire without boundaries, without an end goal, wasn't a utopia. No, it was a one-way ticket to tyranny or chaos. A lack of restraint was seen as a profound danger. And this is the razor's edge. This eternal empire is constantly walking. For every single ideal, there is a very real peril. The peace and stability it provides could so easily curdle into corruption and greed. Its technological utopia could lead to total ecological collapse. All that unprecedented prosperity, it could decay into hedonism and nihilism. A world where citizens who have everything start to value nothing. An empire built on order and justice could, over millennia, develop a scorn for the very laws that created it. Which leaves us with one final massive question. This Rome, it has solved all the problems that destroyed it in our timeline. It's overcome war, decay, and even the mind-boggling vastness of space. But has it conquered human nature? Or is it simply delaying the inevitable on a scale grander than we can possibly imagine?